A Japanese student in front of us, relying on his membership in the Black Dragon clan, wants to expel Lee, who is studying in Japan, from the school. Seeing this, Lee's girlfriend Yamada steps forward to uphold justice. The troublemaking student even tries to lay hands on her, but Lee intervenes, and the student becomes disrespectful. When the lead student is knocked unconscious by Lee, others rush in, but their skills are no match for Lee's. Some have their arms broken, some legs fractured, and in no time, the scene is a mess. At this moment, the head of the Black Dragon clan, Funakoshi, arrives. Upon learning it was Lee who defeated his disciples, he is greatly shocked and approaches Lee to inquire about his identity. Upon hearing Lee say that his master is Huiyuanjia, Funakoshi's expression turns sorrowful, and after a long pause, he speaks. They had just received a telegram that Huiyuanjia had died in a martial arts competition, killed by Ryuichi Akutagawa from the Honko dojo. Upon hearing this news, Lee is greatly disturbed. He bids farewell to everyone immediately and takes a boat back to the Jingwu School in Shanghai. As soon as he enters, he sees Huiyuanjia's son, Ting, dressed in mourning attire, confronting those who have come to challenge them. While Huiyuanjia was alive, no one dared to offend the Jingwu School. Yet, now that he's gone, some audacious individuals dare to challenge them on the day of his funeral. With a single kick, he sends the challenger flying several meters away. After creating distance, he follows up with another kick, knocking him down. After the opponent gets up, Ting relentlessly attacks with a flurry of moves, leaving him powerless to fight back. Eventually, the opponent surrenders. Lee pays his respects to his deceased master at the ancestral hall. He removes a plaque with the word, "Endure," written on it, kneels before Huiyuanjia, makes a vow to avenge his master, then smashes the plaque with his fist. He then goes to the Honko dojo to find Ryuichi Akutagawa, and the underlings, upon seeing a Chinese man, arrogantly provoke him. Seeing their comrade being beaten, they swarm in to surround Lee. Without hesitation, Lee strikes mercilessly, knocking down one Japanese person after another. Soon, many are lying on the floor of the dojo. At this moment, Ryuichi Akutagawa hurries over. He suggests having a fair match with Lee in front of everyone. Feeling that Ryuichi Akutagawa is an honorable man, Lee gladly accepts his proposal. The two face off and the match begins. Ryuichi confidently assumes his stance, while Lee employs the Hua family's boxing technique. However, even before the duel starts, Lee notices Ryuichi's unstable footing. When Ryuichi attacks, Lee punches his foot, is almost tripped by this blow. Lee continues his aggressive assault on Ryuichi's lower body. Seeing Ryuichi continuously forced back by the onslaught, Lee concludes that with just superficial skills, Ryuichi could not have killed his master. To uncover the true cause of his master's death, Lee goes to Huiyuanjia's grave and orders it to be opened for examination. Sure enough, a significant discovery is made. Huiyuanjia was poisoned. Panic ensues at the Jingwu School. The chef responsible for the meals becomes a suspect, but without evidence, they cannot hastily convict him. Meanwhile, Lee's prestige among his fellow disciples rapidly rises. Having defeated Ryuichi and uncovered the truth about his master's death, many new disciples gather around him seeking guidance. Lee generously imparts his knowledge and skills to them. This action displeases Ting, the current head of the school, and Ting's uncle, prompting Ting's uncle to have a conversation with Lee. He tells Lee to recognize his position. Ting is the head of the Jingwu School. Meanwhile, Ryuichi learns of Huiyuanjia's poisoning and confronts General Fujita of the military, accusing him of poisoning Huiyuanjia. But Fujita, ruthless, kicks Ryuichi's waist, breaking it, then tosses the body at the doorstep of the Honko dojo to frame Lee. Angered, the dojo's members storm the Jingwu School, demanding Lee's confession. Tensions escalate, leading to a brawl. Police arrive and arrest Lee. The case quickly goes to trial, with the Japanese military producing 4 false witnesses to incriminate Lee. Facing false accusations, Lee remains silent. At a critical moment, Lee's lawyer calls a witness, Yamada. She testifies that she and Lee were together all night and never left the room. Her statement evokes laughter. Finding the case ludicrous, the judge declares Lee innocent. Lee is moved by Yamada's sacrifice, coming to China to save him. He decides to be with her. However, his relationship with a Japanese woman earns mockery from his fellow disciples. Ting demands Lee end the relationship or leave the Jingwu School. This sparks a heated argument among supporters of both sides. Ting, enraged, proposes a duel. The winner becomes head of the school, the loser leaves. They square off, Ting attacking with resentment, knowing many see Lee as superior. Lee, knowing he's in the wrong and doesn't desire leadership, only defends. But as Ting continues relentlessly, Lee switches to offense, quickly overpowering him. Lee intends to stop, but Ting persists. Shocked by the former comrade's ruthlessness, Li fights back. Heartbroken, Li shows no mercy. As Ting charges again, Li kicks him away, then launches a flurry of punches and kicks, his moves unpredictable. Ting quickly falls behind, and Li presses the advantage, sending Ting flying with a series of kicks. The outcome is clear. Ting is weakened, admitting Li's victory and acknowledging him as the head of the school. However, Li states he has no desire to be headmaster and won't leave Yamada. Li and Yamada leave the Jingwu School, but as a Japanese woman, Yamada faces discrimination at every turn, even struggling to find lodging. Eventually, they settle in a makeshift shelter near Hui Yuanjia's grave. Meanwhile, the Jingwu School falls into chaos. Ting, despondent after his defeat, wanders aimlessly. The Honko Dojo adds fuel to the fire, challenging the Jingwu School in Funakoshi's name. Ting's uncle discovers the chef's body, revealing a convoluted plot involving Fujita, who bribed a student to poison Hui Yuanjia, promising to release the chef's son from prison. However, the son was already dead. The chef, fearing exposure, kills himself. To protect the school's reputation, Ting's uncle decides to keep the truth hidden. Learning of Fujita's scheme, Funakoshi is furious, as he only wanted to challenge Li. The next morning, he visits Li, who has been waiting. Funakoshi asks what Li's most lethal weapon is. Li demonstrates with action, his fists are his deadliest weapon. Funakoshi remarks he's never seen a stone fight back. After their exchange, Li eagerly anticipates sparring with Funakoshi, while Funakoshi calmly adjusts his clothes and stretches, merely a tactic to distract Li. When Li becomes impatient, Funakoshi suddenly rises and delivers a powerful flying kick towards Li. It catches Li off guard, giving Funakoshi the upper hand. Yet, Li seizes an opportunity to strike at Funakoshi's chest as he rises. As they engage again, both are evenly matched. Li employs his expertise, attacking while defending, but fails to land a blow on Funakoshi. After dozens of exchanges with neither gaining the upper hand, they refrain from causing serious harm, only sparring. Suddenly, a gust of wind blows sand into Funakoshi's eyes, prompting Li to halt the fight. They then continue the battle blindfolded. Unable to see each other, they cautiously close the distance, relying on sensing each other's breath and engaging in close-quarters combat. True masters maintain the rhythm even blindfolded. They exchange blows seamlessly until they both fall to the ground, where Funakoshi grabs Li's neck. The duel ends with Li's defeat. As they rise, Funakoshi shares some profound words with him. He remarks that despite their martial prowess, they are still mortal, and the most lethal weapon is actually a gun. He warns Li to be wary of Fujita, known as the killing machine. That night, Ting teaches Li the techniques reserved only for the headmaster. Ting explains that he will duel at the Honko Dojo tomorrow. If he dies, he hopes Li will pass on this set of martial arts. Yamada hides in the house and overhears their conversation. In order to help Li return to the Jingwu School, she leaves China after leaving a letter behind. So the next day, Li and Ting come to the Honko Dojo together. Fujita awaits them, and upon seeing the two, he shoots the student who was working for him. Then, he picks up a signboard with "Yellow Peril" written on it and offers it to Ting. Enraged by this insult, Ting kicks at Fujita, but is punched back. Despite rising again to attack Fujita, Ting's assaults are ineffective. When Ting attacks once more, Fujita counters with his forehead, followed by 2 punches and a kick, sending Ting flying and seriously injuring him. Fujita throws the signboard at him, but Li kicks it to pieces. Fujita charges at Li, who kicks him back, initiating a fierce battle. Although Li's strikes are precise and he lands several hits on Fujita, his strength is insufficient to cause fatal damage. On the other hand, Fujita's moves are simple yet powerful. Li struggles to defend against them and finds himself retreating under Fujita's relentless assault. Fujita sneers at the fallen Li, but in the next moment, Li gets up. By now, he realizes that he can't defeat Fujita head-on and must target his vulnerabilities to win. So, he changes tactics, aiming for Fujita's eyes with his punches, then kicks him out the door while Fujita is disoriented. Li continues to push Fujita back with his strikes, but Fujita manages to dislocate Li's right hand due to Li's failed evasion, regaining control of the fight. In a critical moment, Li dodges skillfully, then seizes the opportunity to rush into the house with Fujita, swiftly relocating his dislocated arm. Rising again, Li launches a fierce assault on Fujita's midsection and then kicks him to the ground. incapacitating him. With the outcome decided, Li prepares to leave with the injured Ting. However, Fujita unexpectedly draws a katana and attempts to attack. Luckily, Ting intervenes and takes the blow meant for Li. Li evades Fujita's attacks, then seizes the opportunity to use his belt as a weapon, finally restraining Fujita from behind. Li tightens his grip, ultimately defeating Fujita. Watching his master's murderer die before him, Li feels a sense of relief. The story of his challenge against the Honko dojo spreads far and wide, and next, he plans to head to the heavily Japanese-populated region of the Kanto region to settle scores.